Hi guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the future, the past, not quite sure. Welcome back to my old e-bike, the very first e-bike I ever built. Those of you new to the channel probably may have or may not have seen this bike before, but this is the very first e-bike I built and the first e-bike that I made a series on. So if you want to see how I built this, then take a look at some of my older videos. But basically what it is, this is an e-bike built with an alternator from a car, which has had the diodes and the voltage regulator removed, which basically leaves the three phase wire sticking out, and the commutator, is it? The rotor, the bit that spins in the middle. You've got two connections to the brushes for that. That's all that you have. When you take all the electronics out of an alternator, but that's all you need to turn it into a motor. And that's what I did about a year and a half or maybe 2 years ago, something like that. But anyway, what this is, the reason that I pulled this out again is because my wife and my daughter have both decided they quite like the idea of riding my e-bikes. And when we're in lockdown for this coronavirus thing, we're going out for little spins on the bike, and guess who gets left behind? Yeah, me. So I dug this out of the shed and I'm trying to get it going again. So what I've done as an upgrade from the last time I had it out, I have replaced the throttle with one with a key switch and a voltage meter on it. It's a half grip throttle. I've replaced the brakes with e-brakes that have switches. I have installed this sort of like a switch thing for it's a motorbike switch gear, but I've installed that, although I haven't actually got it connected to anything yet, but that's all going to happen. I've put the old Dolphin battery from the first e-bike kit that I bought. It was a Bafang 500 watt kit, so I've fitted that. And you may notice I've also got this hanging down, which is actually two 5S batteries. LiPo batteries. The reason that I've got them as well as this is because this is 36 volt. These two together are 36 volt, and if I put them together, I will get some sort of a range. This battery that I bought, like I said, with the kit, the Bafang kit, is absolute garbage. The voltage sag in this battery is close to 10 volts whenever you open the throttle, which is pretty pathetic. So not happy with that battery, but it's just one of those things. I've had it for a while now. So anyway, this is the very first controller I bought. It's a 36 volt 800 watt controller, I think. Of course, the information is now gone off the top of the sticker, is long since gone. But it does work. It has one thing which is a bit funny in that if you hold the throttle for about 3 or 4 seconds in a particular position, it then kicks off cruise control, which, if you're not expecting it, is a bit of a surprise when you go to release the throttle and it just keeps going. But anyway, yep, that's a controller which works quite well, so I'm happy enough to go ahead and use it. The only batteries I've got now are 36 volts, so it kind of fits. If you did see this before, you probably would have seen that I was using a battery pack a bit like this. This is 3S 7P, is it? 3S6P to give me approximately 12 volts. And what I was doing with that was I was putting the 12 volts from this battery straight into the coils on the rotor, through the brushes on the rotor, and that was providing 12 volts to the rotor to make it magnetized, which meant that the alternator could then work as a motor, because for any motor to work you need magnets, and that's how you magnetize it, is to put 12 volts on the coils on the brushes, and that creates an electromagnet. So what I'm doing now is, instead of using a battery, I'm using a motor controller, which is connected directly to the 36 volts from these two batteries. And with this knob, we can turn the voltage up and down that is seen by the rotor. This is a PWM motor controller, I think it's called. These are available off eBay for something like something like £10, 10, 12 pounds, something like that. They're $15. They're very cheap, but it seems to work very well whenever I connect this up and set this up so that it's giving around about 12 volts. I'm getting the same current going through to the rotor as I was seeing when I had this connected directly to it, so it does seem to work, and I've been out on the bike and it's working. So it's actually really simple. I don't even think these two connections are required. This seems to give you some sort of a percentage of full voltage, I think is all it's telling you. It doesn't tell you very much. The switch is so that you can put it into reverse if you wish. Of course, in my case, it doesn't matter whether it's forward or reverse. And the knob then allows you to adjust the voltage so that you can turn it right up, I think, to 40 volts, but I wouldn't care to do that. I'm not sure what would happen if I did that. I had it between 5 and 12 volts or 13 volts, and that seemed to work fine. This is just a wee connector block that allows me to operate the whole thing from switches. So what I'll do is I will get it powered on and show you just what's happening when we play with this. Okay, so as you can see, I have the well, you can't see very well, but I have the probes from this voltmeter. I have the probes on the output of the PWM motor controller, and this is the controller for it. Now at the moment it's turned off, so if I turn that on, there's a bit of a click, and if I now slowly turn that up, we should see the voltage rising. So that's about 12 volts. So if I leave that there and then turn the throttle, you can hear the motor, the wheel is spinning. Now you just zoom out. Right, I'm only just touching the throttle and no more, and you can see it's working. As you can see, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not, but the pulley that I'm using for the back wheel Let me just bring you around. What I've done is I have this is just the standard alternator pulley, and it's I bought a V-belt that's approximately the right length, and I'm using a pulley from a washing machine. This was on the back of a washing machine that had gone faulty. We had an old faulty washing machine, and it had this pulley on the back of it, so I took that off, and although it's not properly grooved or anything, it does work. This tin plate here, or alloy plate, is just to stop the belt from falling off, and as you can see, the pulley is screwed to some bits of plywood, and the plywood has been drilled in such a way, or has been cut in such a way, that it sandwiches the spokes, and that's what holds everything nice and tight. So, and then the rest of it is just extremely crudely welded and bolted to the back of the bike. So at some stage I might update this, I might try and tidy it up a bit, but for now it's doing the job. I'm not going to worry too much. So that's where we are at the moment. What I'm going to do is try and tidy everything up, try and get this screwed down here somewhere, or tied down, or taped down, or whatever. Tidy up all the cabling, try and get some relays working so that we can turn everything off and on from the key switch, which would be nice. But for now that'll have to do, and when I get a bit more done I'll come back and show you what I've done. Okay guys, I know there's an awful mess of wires all over the place, but this is another little test. I'm just going to turn on the power to, so we now have 12 volts, or sorry, we now have 36 volts stroke 40 volts, or thereabouts, going to the PWM motor controller. So what I want to do is to turn up using this little knob, and we should see nothing happening. We should see nothing happening because I haven't selected forward or reverse. So if I select forwards, or if I short out these two wires, that is giving us a voltage. So all I've done is I've taken off the connector that had the switch on it, and I found another little cable with a connector on it that fits. And so if I short those out, then I'm getting a voltage coming up here, and I can now adjust that. Hopefully you can see that alright. I can touch that voltage up to, there's 13 volts. Now the curious among you might want to know what current we're getting at that voltage. But before we do that, we'll just make sure it's still working. There you go. Still working. And the observant among you might also notice that that's not the same PWM motor controller. And the reason for that is I happen to have several of these. So I found another one that has a nice plastic case. It's a little bit neater. Well, I've just realised it also has a fan on it, and that's what that is. So what I'm going to do now is try and see if I can figure out what the current is. So give me a second. I'll just move you back a little bit to about there. Take this and we'll select amps. There's 20 amps, amps DC, zero that, and this should tell us how many amps are. There you go, 4 amps. going to the coils, going to the rotor. So that's probably okay. I can turn that voltage up and down to increase or decrease that current. Hopefully you can still see that. There you go, right down to nothing. That's interesting. It doesn't turn off and on with that, but it did turn off and on when I did that. There you go. We're getting 7 amps now. So I must have turned that up too high. Turned down a bit. So there you go. That is the PWM motor controller. Is what that is. Like I say, you can buy them off eBay, 10, 15 pounds, $15, that sort of money. No problem at all. Just turn that off. So now I have to decide, should I use the smaller, quieter one that doesn't have a nice plastic case, or the bigger, noisier one that does have a plastic case? I don't think it really makes a whole lot of difference. For all the amount of power I'm going to use, I'll probably use the smaller one. Anyway, that's good. It just proves that we can take the 36 volts from the battery and put it to our rotor, and we can control the voltage and therefore the current quite easily. So that's good. Right, I'll come back when I have a bit more done. Okay guys, so I've got a bit more done. I've got this pretty well sorted out now that it's ready to ride. It's a long way from being sorted out, but it's sorted out close enough or well enough that I can ride it. What I've done is as you can see, I've got the original, or the last of the two PWM motor controllers that I showed earlier. This is actually the internals of the smaller one with the plastic box of the bigger one. And the reason I did that was because I wanted the plastic box, but I didn't want the fan noise and the nonsense of the other one. So I went with this. And as you can see, I still have the percentage display. It just tells you the percentage of voltage that you're taking from the source. In my case, the source is about 40 volts, 38, 39 volts. So 30% of that is around about 12 volts, give or take. So what I've also done is I've wired this battery through a switch, and this battery has its own switch. So if I flick that on there, you can see we now are getting the 31%. If I turn that up, I get more, down I get less. So around about 31% is around about 12 volts. If I flick that switch, it just puts the two batteries that they're now running in parallel, and that makes a big difference to the voltage drop. I was seeing with this battery on its own, I was seeing a voltage drop of 8 or 9 volts, I think I said earlier, and when I put this battery in parallel with it, that voltage drop is down to about 2 volts now, so perfectly acceptable. So that's it. If I twist the throttle, oops, it's better if I move it back a bit so that it's not rubbing. If I twist the throttle, Don't worry too much about all that creaking and groaning noise. And I know it sounds a bit rough, but it actually goes all right. It's surprisingly, it goes surprisingly well. So if I just twist that a little bit, then the wheel goes, and believe it or not, it actually goes really well. It's surprisingly powerful. This is I said before, this is an 800 watt controller, but you're getting all 800 watts going to the back wheel. It does seem to work very well. I don't think this would be anywhere near as efficient as a proper hub motor, so I think you would run your battery down a lot quicker than you would with a hub motor, but it still works. It was, I think I paid about £15 for it. A hub motor is £150. There's a bit of a difference there. So I mean, this whole electric bike, this whole e-bike was put together for very, very small money at the time. So it's now, like I said, ready to go. So I've had it out a couple of times. Didn't go very far, but I'm hoping to be able to get a range with this setup, probably 10 to 12 miles if I'm pedaling. I would imagine would be the maximum range. Mostly because this battery pack, as I said before, is such a piece of junk. I bought the Bafang kit from Alibaba. Some Chinese company sold it. It was cheap, and you know the old saying, you get what you pay for. And I paid cheap and I got a cheap battery. So at least the Bafang kit was good. So anyway, that's the latest update on this. It's all a bit rough. I don't know how many times I'm going to be using it this year, to be perfectly honest. Like I said before, the idea was so that my wife and my daughter and myself can all go out together, and our one time piece of exercise per day. Where I live is slightly less of an issue. I'm not in a city, I'm a very long way from the city, and as soon as I step out the door, we're in the country, so it's much less of an issue as far as crowds of people and so on are concerned. But yeah, this whole coronavirus thing is causing some issues, it's got to be said. But anyway, that's the current situation with this e-bike. When I've actually ridden it and tested it and done a few miles on it, I'll come back and report back and let you know what I think. You may notice I've also changed the saddle. Not sure if that was changed in the last video or not, but that was the old one, which it wasn't very comfortable. So that's a different saddle. Yeah, and it's surprisingly it works, and I don't have a switch going to turn this off individually. I'm just going to have to try and remember and make sure and turn off the two batteries each time. If I forget to do that, I'll probably come out and find a dead battery, but hopefully I'll not do that. And if I just leave that in the on position, hopefully that'll be a reminder as well, because the voltage is showing straight away as soon as I turn that on. So I'm about to take this out now for a bit of a spin and just have a bit of fun and confirm that everything is alright. And yeah, that's it. She's a working e-bike. Sort of. It's a bit Heath Robinson, like I said before, but yeah, it's good fun. Does work and is a lot of fun. So anyway, that's me done for now. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Alright guys, I'm just back from a wee spin on the bike. Did about 3 miles, something like that, and the last sort of half mile or so was flat out. And The alternator motor is quite warm. Not roasting, but certainly warm. Controller, cold. Cool anyway, not hot. One thing I did notice was if I turn on the LiPo batteries, the voltage is showing as 38.9 volts. Turn it off again and turn on the lithium ion batteries, and it's showing as 39.9. So looks to me like most of the power was coming from the LiPo batteries for that cycle. Not sure how that's going to work out. I know it's not ideal to have LiPo batteries in parallel with lithium ion batteries, but it is what it is. They're what I have and I'm using what I've got. So I'll have to see how that works out, but I'm not sure that the range is going to be that great for this little setup. So anyway, it was a bit of fun. And I'll report back and let you know how it actually does do on a longer run. I don't think I'll be going terribly far on this bike though. I don't think there'll be any hour long or hour and a half long journeys. I don't think. Certainly not flat out anyway. Going up hills, it does slow down quite a bit. There's not a lot of torque in this, and obviously with 36 volts, 800 watts, you're not going to get much torque. But going up hills, yeah, you definitely have to pedal. On the flat, it does go quite well. It'll do probably 20 miles per hour flat out, something like that. So, but this was only a bit of fun. It was just a project that I did for fun, and it got me into e-bikes, so I've had a lot of fun doing this. Anyway, gotta go, battery's about to die. Bye for now. Andy. Oh, okay, well, as you hopefully have just seen, the three of us managed to make it back safely. We went for a ride which was approximately 8 miles, something like that. And my daughter was riding this, and as you can see, the voltage retained is 37.6, and it was about 42 when we left. So this is not not an efficient bike by any means. The only thing it failed is, funny, this switch suddenly decided it didn't want to work anymore. Well, maybe it is now. Sounds a bit more like a switch. Not sure what happened, but anyway, that switch was a bit iffy. So yeah, apart from that, everything worked a treat. Didn't break down, made it the whole way there and the whole way back. So very, very pleased. And so this wee bike is back up and running again, back working again. Thanks for watching. Bye.